This is Out Loud and Laughing.
What is up, chosen fam? Welcome back to the studio. Today, we are opening up our hearts and honestly completely rewriting our collective understanding of queer identity. Our guest today is an absolute trailblazer who took a look at the LGBTQ plus landscape and noticed a massive, glaring, empty space. She didn't just ask for representation, she became it. She's an international lingerie and alternative fashion model, a multi-award winning activist, a visiting research fellow at King's College London, and the historic first openly asexual Grand Marshal for the NYC Pride March. She turned a single dismissive comment about her appearance into a global movement with her viral campaign, hashtag This Is What Asexual Looks Like. Chosen fam, please welcome to the pod the iconic, the brilliant Yasmin Benoit. Hey, Yasmin.
Thanks for having me.
It's so great to have you here, Yasmin. We're so incredibly thrilled coming to us all the way from across the pond. How's your day going? And are we hydrating? Because you're looking flawlessly chic as always.
Thank you. Well, we just had our Pride in London yesterday. So I'm still kind of recovering from our big parade in a heat wave, but we persevere.
We love that. We just finished up Pride in New York as well, and it's always nice. It gives us energy to keep fighting. But seriously, looking through your work, you've taken on a lot, but in the absolute best way possible. But before we get into like the heavy stuff, the global activism, all the cool shit you're doing, Yasmin, we want to take a step back. Most of our chosen fam are meeting you for the first time. We like really to getting to know our people. So take us back to your roots. You grew up in England. What was the Yasmin origin story like?
God, I feel like my origin story is like, I mean, it's probably like a little cliche in the sense that, like, obviously I was not popular in school. I was very much, Black, asexual, like huge heavy metal fan. Like all these things made me very unpopular. And all the people that did not like me in school follow me on Instagram now and think I'm really cool. So it's very much been like that kind of trajectory of me pretty much like sticking to my guns. And then all of the things that made me very unpopular before are ended up being like the things people are interested in now. So bit of a plot twist. But yeah, I mean, I discovered asexuality at quite a young age, like the terminology and stuff. It was relatively accessible online, and I went to like a very bi-curious all-girls school where it was pretty cool to have to like not be straight, to be honest. But I was never able to really identify as asexual because no one
Yeah.
believed me because of how I looked and because people sort of associate it with just like nerdy white people pretty much. So I pretty much, again, ironically, had to not use the terminology and just not really pay any attention to it until I was in my 20s. But now people sort of assume that it's been like the biggest part of my life, my whole life, and it was like all I spoke about. But actually, went to great lengths to never mention it for the majority of my life.
Well, and you mentioned that people were surprised, and I just wonder, like, what kind of kid were you? Were you sporty? Were you geeky? Like, what was Yasmin like when she was in school?
I think if you had to pick like a sort of, I don't know, clique, it would have been emo probably. I think was
Yeah.
the optically, even though what I was listening to wasn't actually emo, I was listening to a lot of Scandinavian death metal, so it wasn't really very emo, but, I had, like, a trench coat, I had a side fringe, wore a lot of eyeliner, still do. My aesthetic actually hasn't developed that much, I still do, like, a good trench coat. So, yeah, I was that kid hanging out with all the kids in the Avenged Sevenfold and Slipknot T-shirt, sitting in the park drinking energy drinks on a Saturday. I was that kid.
I
Some
love
good
that.
Slipknot ICP days. I love it. I love it so much. You just spoke about a little bit about your time in grade school, and something that really stuck with us in your backstory when we were learning about you is that you specifically chose to go to that all girls school that you spoke of. My question is, looking back, was that a conscious or a subconscious way of protecting your energy before you even had language or labels for what asexuality or aromanticism was?
It was a very conscious decision from my 11-year-old self too, because in the UK, that is the age where we go from, like, primary to secondary school. I think for you
Mhm.
guys, it's 13. But yeah, that's kind of when I was already noticing something was up. and everyone was just very, like, I don't know, boy crazy all of a sudden, and my 11-year-old brain was thinking, "If there weren't any boys, we wouldn't have a problem." So, if I just go somewhere where there are no boys, it's just girls, and girls will just be friends, and no one's gonna care about dating or sex, and no one's gonna notice anything's different, and it's never gonna come up, which obviously is not what all girls' schools are like at all. Everyone felt very deprived of boys. It made it possibly more obvious, but I stand by my decision. I understand my, like, 11-year-old logic.
I mean, kudos
Well,
to you for even acknowledging that so young. I think that as queer individuals, we do sort of enter grade school, middle school, knowing that something's wrong, but not having had any sort of modeling or representation in media around that. So, I mean, good for you for starting that trajectory of your journey so young.
Yeah, I don't even know, like, what that was. But also when I got to that school, I was sort of, like, surprised that everyone else didn't choose to go there. I think a lot of girls felt like they were there under duress, like they wanted to be in a regular school. And I was like, "Oh, we're not just all," you know?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it was interesting, but I do think having, heard from other people what mixed schools were like and what it was like going to school with teenage boys, I'm actually very glad I didn't do that. It still sounds like it would have been more effort.
Well, and also, so Yasmin, I lived in the UK for 2 years, and the one thing that I learned though is most kids, probably I don't know about your school specifically, but like from grade school all the way to uni, like they keep their friends from very, very beginning. Like that's very much like a British, feels like a cultural thing. Like it was almost hard to make new friends when I moved there as an adult because everyone had their cliques already. Did you find that was the same kind of thing that you experienced, or given that your school was slightly like different because it was all girls, is it not the same?
It is more so now than it was then, I guess, because
Mm,
again, I was very unpopular in school, but then when I finished and I went to college, I was very much like I went somewhere when I didn't know anybody. Like, I literally got a scholarship and went to a boarding school in the countryside, like, as far away from everyone I knew as possible. I was like, "No, we're starting over." But then, as I got older, I've literally, like, met my school bully, shook hands on it, went to their wedding. Like, I'm like, "We're cool. I'm over it. It's okay. I get it. We're teenagers. Like, no one really knows what the hell's going on." So I don't hold it against anybody. So now actually we are very friendly. And funnily enough, our school reunions are always at Pride because it was a very bi-curious school.
It's giving
So
vibes. You remember Heartstopper? Did you see that show?
I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen it all the way through.
It was reminding me of anyhow. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I
I
mean, I
love
guess
it.
that is an English school in a sort of more idealized sort of way.
Well, it's
Yeah.
all like media for
Yeah,
sure.
very euphoric. Okay, so then at 16 though, I think you entered the modeling world, and not just any modeling, you were doing alternative fashion and eventually lingerie. And obviously the modeling industry is notoriously hypersexualized, built entirely on the male gaze. I mean, if you ask John and I, that's what we all get in our feeds. What drew you to that world, and how did you navigate being a aromantic, asexual woman in a space that literally trades on sexual desire?
I mean, it's interesting because I mean, everybody says that, but I feel like there are
Yeah,
so many parts of it that aren't like that in the sense of like, I mean, if you were to flick through a catalog, you wouldn't be like male gaze or watch a yogurt
yeah,
advert. You wouldn't be like, whoa, so sexy. Like there are like, but those are models. So there was kind of like lots
true.
of parts of it that aren't really as like salacious as people think it is. But yeah, for me, I think I was kind of as again, I'm an only child, so I did every single hobby imaginable. I like did football, I did archery, like I did martial arts, I did gymnastics, like I just ran through every single thing. Um and then I was on like one of my mom's friends, so my picture on her desk and was like, "Oh, I have like a kid modeling agency or whatever." And I wasn't even very cute, but I was on that board for a bit. But then I was sort of aging out when I'm like 16. And at that point, I was very into alternative subculture. And I was like, and this was like peak emo days, right? And I'm on all the websites and stuff, but I'm like, isn't it ironic that that this section of the industry that's so focused on individuality and everybody's white and they all look the same, but because they've got like
Mm.
a tattoo and red hair and like a nose ring that's like subversive, but I'm like, you all look the same though, so that seems weird. So that was kind of what drew me to it, to sort of diversify that particular sphere. And then as I got a bit older, I started kind of doing more, I don't know, model a smoothie, model ties, model like things like that. But then I couldn't do catwalk or whatever because I got double D's. You're not allowed. so so then it was like, oh, but you can model this bra really well. So I was like, cool, I'll model the bra. And yeah, and I feel like on the most part, most lingerie brands like are run by women. Makeup artists are women, your photographer. A lot in my experience, I often end up with female photographers. So it's actually not like as like foreboding as it sounds a lot of the time. I think we're kind of in a very like empowerment era of how I think lingerie in particular is branded. Like I think in the early 2000s, people were very much like, oh, like Top Shelf magazine, like girls were in like hot lists in magazines all the time. But nowadays they're kind of like, well, it's women buying their own underwear to wear. So they're
Yeah,
trying to appeal to women on the most part nowadays.
yeah. The Don
I mean,
Draper of like sex selling to men is sort of
I mean, that's true, but I've also seen many yogurt ads, Yasmin, that have men shirtless. But I will also say, though, I think you're right when it comes to the because what I've seen a lot, even in entertainment and even like on movies and stuff, is they are giving more representation to not just the very skinny white model, right? It's all sizes, it's all heights and shapes, and it's all colors. And so it sounds like we're making a step in the right direction. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, then like Ozempic happened.
It's
was
so
that
true.
the case?
And then, like, and then Trump happened, so we're kinda not in that era as much like, we were in that era way more 10
Yeah.
years ago than we are now, like, for sure. Hair and cheek is back, like, brands are moving away from the whole diversity thing.
Uh,
So it's not what it was, but it's still better than it probably was in, like, I don't know, 1999.
a couple of
Yeah,
steps back.
a couple of steps.
Yes.
That's an understatement, but we'll run with it. We'll run with it. No, you speak about diversity, and our podcast is very much so a place where we talk about celebrating joy and celebrating our diversity. And you're so right. 10 years ago, it did feel a little bit more prevalent than it does today. But the reason why diversity matters so much is because of representation, and I love how you sort of own that. For example, people have this widely warped, archaic idea of what asexual is or looks like. In 2019, you took the bull by the horns. You launched the hashtag, this is what asexual looks like. After a British news outlet, did an entire segment basically debating whether you could look asexual, which is so stupid, right? When you hit publish on that hashtag, did you have any idea it would grow into literally a global lifeline for people trying to unlearn their own shame and maybe get to know themselves a little bit better?
Actually, no, I didn't because at that time in like 2019, I was still like in uni, like I was still graduating. I was studying crime science. I was not like, I
Yeah.
wasn't in London that much. Like I wasn't on the scene. I didn't know that much about activism or that much about like social media campaigning or anything. I literally just stumbled into this by chance pretty much. So yeah, I thought, oh, I'll just do that. Even when I first came out on my socials, I didn't think it was gonna be a thing. I didn't think people were gonna care that much. I didn't know people did panels. I didn't know there were like award shows for these things. I didn't even know what Grand Marshal was until NYC Pride approached me about that. Like I've been
Amazing.
kind of very oblivious
Yeah,
to to the thing. So no, I had even when I did the hashtag, it started trending on Twitter like immediately. I didn't even have Twitter. So I was like, oh, this website seems so friendly. Let me go enjoy. They seem to really like me over there. Um, so yeah, I had no idea.
I mean, that's so interesting, right? Because you were probably just doing it just to have a voice, but you didn't realize how big the voice was. And that's, I think, what's so interesting about the internet today and social media specifically. And as much bad as it can be, I think in moments like this, it's actually good. Did you want this crown, Yasmin? Did you want to be a poster for this? Like what was when you said, you posted, you didn't really think this would get big, but did a part of you maybe hope like I could use a little like, extra clicks?
Just thought I wanna throw my same way as I did with the modeling, really, where I was just kind of like, it feels ironic when it's a space that's talking about diversity and it's saying like we're doing all these things, but it's not. And then I'm sitting there thinking, well, this is actually having an impact on my life because I can't even come out because people only see white people talking about asexuality. But I was like, but then I'm sitting back not saying anything because I'm waiting for someone else to do it. I'm like, so screw it. I'll just say something, see what happens. Um, But yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't anticipate where it was gonna go, but then as I sort of started putting more work into it, and I was like, "Wait, I'm actually doing, like, a lot of stuff." Like, I'm doing stuff no one has ever done or achieved. So, yeah, once I kind of registered that, I was like, "No, the flowers are deserved. In fact, I think there should be more
Yes.
flowers."
Okay, so that's so interesting, Yasmin, because then on the flip side, how exhausting is it to constantly be the educator in chief then as well, right? How do you also protect your own mental health while trying to like also be an evangelist and educator?
It's a weird thing because I've sort of realized, like, I don't know, I have to keep reminding myself not to be too jaded
No way.
because like, I think when it comes to activism and stuff, like, you don't really switch off. You're never really off duty. You don't really get to say, actually, like, I'm out of office, so you can deal with a crisis yourself. Like, you don't really get to do that. And there's also no like blueprint, there's no playbook, there's no instruction, like no guidelines. People don't know how to act. And so it's hard for me to work out how to act. But what I have realized is that I have to be sort of on all the time. I always feel like I have to be doing something. And you also have to kind of be like stealing yourself so that you're not too impacted by everyone's like constantly emotional state and a constantly emotional climate. And yeah, so I sort of, on one hand, I always say like not advocating for bullying, but I do think it was useful that I got bullied in school because it's meant that I'm like, I think I have a thicker skin. But yeah, there are kind of times where I have to be like, "Wait, am I a little too stoic? Am I have I become a little too immune?" Because sometimes when people bring things to me, I'm kind of like, "Mhm." Like, thinking I should be, like, reacting more emotionally to things than I do because I'm just so used to being, like, a strategist and just keeping it going, so and yeah, to be fair, I'm not, like I don't have self-care stuff. I don't really I don't really have time to. The most I'll do is, like, I don't know, play Sims 4 and, like, cause chaos on there and, like, leave a message unread for, like, 5 hours. It's, like, me being chaotic. Um, but, yeah, I haven't actually worked out how you do the whole self-care thing while doing this and how you have boundaries and how you deal with all that stuff. I don't know if anyone has worked it out, but I haven't.
It's an ongoing process, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, I bet you we can unpack so much more here. And here at Out Loud and Laughing, we have a tradition called This or That. It's a game we play, and it's time to learn more about both of your very silly self and some of your favorite things. So, are you ready to play This or That with us?
Sure.
It's time for another round of This or That, the unhinged get to know you game.
Wonderful. Okay. So, would you be more into a sleek gothic look or a high fashion neon?
Sleek Gothic.
It's your aesthetic. It's your natural go-to vibe for sure.
Okay, so then I'm next. Early morning productivity or are you a total night owl?
Absolutely a night owl. I am training myself to be up before lunchtime.
I love that. I love that.
That is
Okay.
so good.
Would you prefer wandering alone in a countryside forest or a high energy runway show?
Forest, easily a forest. Absolutely a
Something about
forest.
nature, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I
May-
mean, I went to school in the countryside.
Maybe that's your self-help, going into the forest.
Yes, I used to do that more because yeah, I went to school in the countryside, so I love a good forest.
Okay, being on the cover of Attitude magazine or presenting on BBC Sounds?
So hard. Oh my god. I feel like I'm actually gonna have to go for the BBC Sounds one because that was the first time I got to learn about asexual conversion therapy, and it ended up leading to me doing, like, all my research and stuff, so that one kinda led to more things after.
Well,
What was
it also led to didn't you launch Transgender Day on a was it May? What day did you
In
co-found?
International Asexuality Day?
Yeah, what day was it? Because I know you recently did it and you did some stuff in New York City, right?
Yeah, April 6th, yes. I shop for a brand
April
that's in
6th,
New
that's
York,
what it
but
is.
I shop for them in London. I didn't get to go to New York, unfortunately, but hopefully in the
Fine.
future, I can go back to New York.
Yes.
We're gonna have to bring you back once we start recording in studio.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, it'd be so
okay.
fun.
So fun. So fun. Are you more comfortable in a cozy oversized sweater or a glamorous high-end lingerie look?
But definitely the sweater. I am most of the time like a band t-shirt and jeans girl. So, yeah, definitely a sweater.
Love that. Love that. Oh, Yasmin, you've survived the hot seat, so that was an absolute blast. Thank you so much for being incredibly authentic with us and for your brilliant mind and for showing our chosen family that queer joy and visibility don't fit into a neat little box.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be in New York in spirit.
Yes.
Yes. Yasmin, where can our chosen fam find you online and read about all your amazing research, etc.?
I say check out my Instagram at the Yasmin Benoit, which is THEYASMINBENOIT. But if you just type in Yasmin Benoit on Google, it'll all come up.
Love that. She's famous. She's here. She knows what she's doing, and she's making a voice for our asexual community. So thank you. Chosen fam, that's our show for today. Remember to stay loud, stay laughing, and keep seeking your own truth and love who you are. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye, y'all.
This was Out Loud and Laughing.
We're available everywhere you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, iHeart, or wherever.